We also heard that the crew on board the International Space Station is going to be watching landing. They, of course, spent some quality time with Starliner since it docked to the station on May 20th and saw it off earlier today. That's Sergei Korsakov, Oleg Artemyev, Denis Matiev, and Chell Lindgren, Bob Hines, Jessica Watkins, and Samantha Cristoforetti. Once again, receiving data from the Starliner now that it's passed through that plasma buildup. Everything going well as it makes its way across this track that you can see, heading towards a landing in the New Mexico desert. Teams on the ground reporting good trajectory.
And there are our very first shots of Starliner from the WD-57.
Starliner's still got about 8 minutes left in this flight and hasn't even begun deploying its heat shield yet. That'll start here in just the next few minutes. Still about 3 minutes away before the first parachutes begin to deploy, and of course before that we'll see the forward heat shield come off. But everything going well. Teams here on the ground seeing good data. And hopefully we'll get a better and better view as it gets closer.
And that shot there on the left side of your screen now from the ground tracker. So we have two views now of Starliner as it makes its final approach to its landing zone there in White Sands, New Mexico.
And the team here in Mission Control reporting that they've heard from the landing and recovery teams that they're also seeing the Starliner. They'll have, of course, the front row seats, but we'll try and piggyback on that with these views that we're getting.
We are just under 7 minutes away from landing.
Okay, everybody, I hope you can hear me. This has been sort of a test stream anyway, but welcome to AeroSpaceNews.com's live coverage of the landing of Orbital Flight Test 2, or OFT-2, of the Boeing Starliner built for NASA as part of the Commercial Crew Program. We are very close to landing with very short notice. I apologize about that. Had some issues getting the stream properly set up and activated on YouTube, thanks to the incredibly counterintuitive interface, the UI on YouTube for live streams. But here we are. We are probably about 15 minutes away from the actual touchdown of the Starliner crew capsule. The service module has already been jettisoned.
Switching back to this graphic for just a moment as we wait for the forward heat shield deploy.
Now, the forward heat shield covers the actual deployment area for the
And we are
parachutes.
starting to get a more clear view of Starliner now. We should be seeing the forward heat shield deploy here pretty quickly.
Hey, Mongo, thank you for being here, buddy. Good to see you. So the forward heat shield deploy is
And the forward
required
heat
before they
shield has
can
now
deploy the
jettisoned.
pilot
That
parachutes.
heat shield protected the
commonly
spacecraft
called
through those thermal
drogue
loads
chutes.
during re-entry. And drogues are out.
2 drogue parachutes slowing Starliner's speed and drag. They're going to reef to a wider opening and slow Starliner down enough for the main chutes to deploy in less than a minute.
Mongo, could you tell me, please, if there's anything wrong with any of the technical aspects of the stream? Can you hear me okay? Can you hear NASA okay? And again, hand on heart, buddy, I'm not using the webcam at the moment because this video is much
Main
more
parachute
important.
deploy just about 30
But I
seconds away.
appreciate you so much being here. Thank you for showing up, man. I hope you're well. For those of you that are watching on YouTube that don't know, I also stream 2 nights a week on Twitch. Mongo is a member of that community, a very valued member of that community. Just as a reminder, the spacecraft is coming into land in New Mexico. They mentioned it earlier on the stream, but I was not live at that point.
View here from the ground tracker.
And mains are now out. We see 3 parachutes coming out here. Starliner has another 8,000 feet toward the landing. Those 3 parachutes are starting to inflate now. You can see them right there on your screen.
This is the first crew-capable spacecraft built in the USA to land on
and the main parachutes are reefing open right
ocean.
there, continually slowing Starliner down.
3 good main parachutes, looking good.
That's a thermal camera view from the RB-57, and I got to say, that's a really beautiful, clear shot. Well, it was a moment ago. There's a true color image. And those shoots do look good.
Starliner
Boy, those
will be
look
drifting
patriotic, don't
down
they?
for another 2.5 or so minutes before it makes its touchdown, but all going smoothly. And we didn't just hear the rotation handle was released. That will help level out the capsule before touchdown.
And there goes the base heat shield right there in front of you. It just jettisoned. You can see it falling away from the spacecraft. It will reveal the airbags that will cushion Starliner's landing. And those airbags are now inflating. Starliner is 2 minutes, 40 seconds from landing. Actually, closer to 2 minutes now.
The Starliner...
you can see those airbags right there on your screen, fully inflated, looking good.
That does come down on those airbags.
Those will come in real handy when we have crew on board for the crew flight test of Starliner in a few months. Help ensure that the crew gets a nice, soft touchdown.
And those bags are filled with nitrogen as they guide Starliner safely back to the desert floor.
This is the second orbital flight test of the Starliner because the first one didn't quite go to plan. There was a miscommunication.
Flight controllers here in the room reporting good airbags.
Between the timer on board the Starliner
Everything
and its
going
rocket.
Exactly how we want to hear it.
And as a result, the spacecraft expended excessive propellant and couldn't make it to the space station. This one has had some issues with the thrusters.
We are just coming up on about 1 minute away from touchdown there in White Sands, New Mexico.
Exact touchdown time will vary a little bit depending on the winds at the landing site, but everything's going smoothly. And I bet the teams there at the landing site are enjoying this view.
So far, so good. Just wanted to clean up your view there, my friends. So the spacecraft can carry up to 7
views from the ground trackers on site in New Mexico. Just seconds left.
You can see the mountains coming into frame there. We're getting very close to the ground. And touchdown, Starliner. We're touching down in the desert of New Mexico, marking the completion of Orbital Flight Test 2. And that touchdown coming at 5:49 p.m. Central Time, almost exactly 6 days into the mission. Just a beautiful touchdown in White Sands this evening. Our landing recovery teams will now wait for clearance before making their way to the vehicle.
I turned off the closed captioning there, especially now that the spacecraft is
And
down,
we can hear
because
some clapping and
it was
cheering in the
obscuring
other
the
room.
view. It's kind of hard to make out, especially in this thermal image, but you can see the heat waves across the desert floor. It's probably quite hot in New Mexico. I don't think I've heard NASA call out what the ambient temperatures are on the ground, but that's a hot spacecraft, certainly with a hot bottom in a hot environment. So lots of heat waves and lots of distortion. Hopefully we'll get a nice clean.
And we are going to go live to our team now that is out there right at the landing zone, getting close. And we have NASA's Dan Hewitt and Boeing's Rosa Banuelos. Guys, how does it look from the ground?
Thanks, Lauren. It's hard to describe the feeling that the team here is going through. Again, we just saw those beautiful red, white, and blue parachutes deploy. We were able to visually see the forward heat shield, the base heat shield also jettison and open those airbags, and obviously they filled with nitrogen. So we're on the move. We're in the blue team vehicle. Again, we're driving in parallel to the historical runway here for the Columbia shuttle landing. Again, where the first stop is going to be the 500-foot mark. We're driving pretty slow here, about 25 miles along the white sand, gypsum sand. Once you get to that 500 mark, the first team that will move into the 120-foot mark will be the gold team, and then they will do that first visual assessment before they give the clear for the rest of the team to approach the crew module. After that, we have the silver team who will groundly stabilize the vehicle. It will be Sante command to power down, and they will also recover the parachute. They will also recover and save any of those in parts. And then after that team, we have our team that's, again, going to try to attempt to give you some of those live looks as we get closer to the crew module. And then preceding that, we have the green team who will provide ground and cooling to the vehicle, which is really important to keep those systems safe from overheating. And then we have the red team who is mainly made out of the Boeing medical personnel. And then we have the hatch opening, and then any of the cargo removal. Again, we're driving pretty slowly. We're heading to the crew module, and upwind. The crew module uses a hypergolic propellant that, when it does turn into vapor, it can be very toxic. So we take that very seriously.
Here's a natural
Safety is
or
number
true
one
color image.
concern and priority for the flight crew and from the team here on the ground. So when the gold team does arrive, they will be monitoring that throughout the whole operation. Again, the first stop is the 500-foot mark, and again, if you hear the rush in my voice, it's definitely a sight to see. For all of the Boeing team here, it's definitely a proud moment.
And hey, I don't have a whole lot else to add. It was pretty surreal as Starliner just almost seemed to materialize in thin air directly above us. We were able to see it come down under both strokes, see those deploy.
Hey, Whiskapox. Thank you for joining us.
We were treated to what I believe was a sonic boom, or that may have been some of the pyro events, but that kind of announced Starliner's arrival to the desert here for us. And so, as Rosa said, we're on our way in. As we get closer, we're going to get closer also to a lot of our transmitting hardware, so we'll be able to bring you some views. Might even have an eye in the sky as the teams move in around Starliner. So we'll talk to you real soon as we get in closer. Great to have Starliner back on planet Earth. Can't wait to see it up close.
I'm going to bring that volume down quite a bit.
We are still about a kilometer or more away, continuing to close in. And we'll be bringing you a lot closer views real soon.
As Dan mentioned, we can now see the crew module right ahead of us. We can visually see it, and it's definitely a great sight to see. So, Lauren, we'll toss it back to you, and we'll come back to you as soon as we get established a speed again.
That was Dan Hewitt and Rosa Banuelos from NASA and Boeing, respectively, giving us a report from the convoy currently making their way out to Starliner as we speak. You heard them say that they were able to hear the sonic booms as Starliner came in for its landing at 5:49 p.m. Central, and we are seeing some views from cameras there on site, some of the same ones I think that gave us the views as it was coming down as well.
And here's a piece of information that I know a lot of people on our team will be really happy to hear. We are told that Starliner landed about 0.3 of a mile southeast of the landing site, which is basically a bullseye.
Yeah, Mongo, I was bringing down the comm so I could
see those,
speak
airbags that we talked about earlier.
To the issue
that
of the status of the crew
intended to give crew on
program
board when
here,
we have them.
and I didn't want to talk over them or scream at them. But I was going to go ahead. I decided to go ahead and let them continue speaking a little bit longer.
One of the things the teams are checking on as they do arrive at the landing site. We've got, as you heard, Dan and Rosa mentioning, we've got a pretty big group of people who are making their way out there because it's a pretty big job to recover a spacecraft once it is touched down from space. And we're also hearing from here on the from here in Mission Control that the post-landing power down of Starliner is in work.
I apologize for that. If you heard some other audio that was from a different video.
Milestones and getting the Starliner ready for its recovery.
And our team just checked the cabin temperature inside. It is 74 degrees right
Folks,
now.
Don't do too many of these streams on YouTube. That's going to change.
Much more comfortable than our team out there in the desert.
But I am sort of working out the bugs, which is why this was a bit of a late start.
And you may have noticed just a few seconds after Starliner made its touchdown, the main chutes fall away from the spacecraft, and that just keeps those chutes from catching any wind that could drag the capsule, which obviously makes things easier for the landing team as they begin to
Mongo, appreciate you so much, buddy.
And start their procedures.
So I actually think I got everything configured correctly now, audio-wise. What I was going to say is I brought the audio level down a bit on the NASA feed because I wanted to chat with you folks a bit just to remind you where we are and how we got here. First of all, this is the OFT-2 or Orbital Flight Test 2 mission, because there was an Orbital Flight Test 1, and had that gone to plan, we would not have an Orbital Flight Test 2. Orbital Flight Test 1 did not go according to plan. There was a failure to properly synchronize a mission timer in the Starliner with the booster built by United Launch Alliance. That was not a ULA issue. That was a Starliner Boeing issue. There were some other software problems with that crew capsule on that first test flight. And as a result, Boeing has flown this mission at no cost to the taxpayer. They have said that's their position. Needless to say, there are lots of NASA resources being used on this mission, which is a second one. The first mission did not make it to the International Space Station because of the problems I just mentioned. This one did make it to the station. There were some thruster issues on the way uphill. Overall, though, it's been arguably a very successful flight. Here we have a successful touchdown. Now, what remains to be proven or seen is if NASA is going to look at all of the results from this OFT-2 mission and give their thumbs up, give the certification to Boeing to fly NASA astronauts on the first operational Starliner mission. I would say, based on what I've heard so far, the odds of that are actually pretty good. And when that happens, the United States will have two different manufacturers of crew capsules to carry astronauts as well as cargo to and from the International Space Station. In fact, this is for the very first time that has been the case where two spacecraft manufactured in the USA were available simultaneously if the Starliner is certificated to shuttle passengers and crew back and forth to the International Space Station. So fingers crossed that it works out that way. This has looked good so far. Of course, the other vehicle that is carrying passengers, astronauts, and cargo to and from the International Space Station is the SpaceX Crew Dragon. That's the crew variant of the Dragon cargo capsule, which has had so far a perfect record of safety, and schedule tempo has been quite excellent as well. They launch aboard the SpaceX Falcon rocket. The Falcon 9 rocket is different from the ULA Atlas V booster in that it is comprised of a highly reusable, not 100%, but highly reusable booster or first stage, which comes back and lands either on land, but pretty typically on a drone ship off the coast of Florida in the Atlantic Ocean. And the Crew Dragon capsule is also highly reusable. In the case of the Boeing Starliner, the United Launch Alliance Atlas V is not reusable. To the best of my knowledge, I don't even believe the solid rocket boosters on the outside are reusable. The upper stage consists of a second stage and a service module and the crew capsule. The second stage is not reusable either. The service module falls off and is not reusable. The only thing that is reusable is the Starliner capsule you're looking at on your video screens right now. And I believe that Boeing has said that that capsule is reusable approximately 10 times. It can carry a crew of up to 7, but most typically will carry about 4. Boeing has also said that they intend and apparently are allowed to sell any spare seat inventory as a source of revenue generation on these flights to and from the International Space Station. If the capsule looks kind of familiar, it might be because it certainly bears more than a passing resemblance to the old Apollo capsules. There is legacy technology there. It is considerably more than a refresh of the Apollo capsules, but definitely is shaped in a similar manner. And that's because that's a pretty good shape to come backwards into the Earth's atmosphere and minimize all of the stresses and all the thermal heating issues that are associated with atmospheric reentry or atmospheric entry. It is, of course, a re-entry if you left to begin with. Some interesting comments from the, I believe it was the Boeing representative on air earlier. There are reaction thrusters on the Starliner capsule that use what are called hypergolic propellants. These are propellants that don't require flame in the form of a traditional combustion source to provide thrust power. These use chemical reactions with typically some sort of metallic screen to act as a catalyst and generate gas vapor at high velocity to produce thrust. So it's great in that you don't have to have the possible failure mode of a spark ignition system, if you will, not working to simplify and improve reliability. The bad news is that the propellants that they use, these hypergolics, tend to be highly toxic when they are in vapor form. So that's why you saw on Space Shuttle previously and now on Starliner on this mission that the first people to approach the vehicle are going to be people in hazmat suits with these sniffing devices to make sure that there isn't any toxic material airborne in the presence of the capsule. This is going to be important both for the ground personnel and, of course, for the astronauts and other crew members from the European Space Agency and possibly maybe in the future even cosmonauts or sinonauts, you know, just looking way out at the horizon, leaving the spacecraft. Boeing is promoting the fact that because of the unique nature of the Starliner landing on solid ground, they should be able to actually access both the crew and also time-critical and probably temperature-sensitive payloads, scientific payloads, and get them off the spacecraft faster. SpaceX is not exactly a slouch with the way that they've been recovering both passengers and cargo from the Crew Dragon, but it's probably true that they can get a little faster access to things that are on board, human beings and cargo on board, because the thing is not bobbing around in the ocean. It's probably pretty hot out there, arguably pretty dusty. This is a drone shot, and we're even seeing the drone camera interface from, it looks like the mobile device or the controller being transmitted there from what we're seeing on our screen. Hey, Freddie, how are you, buddy? Good to see you. Another member of our Twitch community who is a great guy and a regular division mate of mine when I stream on the Twitch platform. Yeah, Freddie, I think when it comes to technology stuff, it's probably something that makes more sense to do onto YouTube. That's assuming that I have my operational act together, and I'm able to start early enough and on time enough to give everybody a fair warning. Today has been a challenging day, and when I went to begin the stream actually and set it up, there were some issues. The streaming software was set up originally with a connected account to YouTube, but when I went to commence the stream, the handshakes weren't happening and they didn't seem to want to talk to each other. So that caused a few tens of minutes delay, and I was not able to give folks enough of an advance warning as I would have wished. But we got started just before the parachutes began to open. Bless his heart, Mongo was here right almost at the very beginning. And hopefully now that I see the way things were going and the unique steps that are necessary, as there are more rocket launches, landings, splashdowns, etc., we'll have a smoother flight test ourselves here on YouTube. And again, that's going to be for the aviation space technology dedicated content. I don't plan on streaming any games on YouTube at the present time. Of course, that may change depending upon a number of factors, but for the time being, that is not part of the plan. And as a reminder, if you're here on YouTube and you've never heard of me before, you can find me. Well, first of all, please drop a subscription on the YouTube channel, if you don't mind. You can also follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv/aerospacenews. Don't even have any fancy graphics to pull up here to promote it. Oh, Mongo, you are too kind. And seriously, you don't know how grateful I am to have you here. You really, words do not express. Today was kind of a challenging day from the get-go. Woke up with a banger of a headache, and didn't think I would even feel well enough to fire this up. But modern over-the-counter medications are a miracle, which helped quite a bit. Folks, those of you that know anything about me know that I've actually shot 3 space shuttle landings. That's how old I am. And looking out at that desert and the dusty spacecraft and those vehicles and those personnel reminds me an awful lot of those space shuttle landings. One of the Boeing personnel was talking about the sonic boom, in fact. Also, just as a reminder, there is nobody in that spacecraft. It's completely unoccupied by crew. There is cargo on board, including supplies that need to be replenished to the space station, empty nitrogen containers, for example. And speaking of nitrogen, those airbags inflate with nitrogen. It certainly looks like the landing was soft enough to be reasonably comfortable. It's sitting upright, and it looks pretty much undamaged. Folks, I'm not asking for this, but I'm curious to know, just because this is sort of an orbital flight test for me. Do you see, please do not expend any money, but do you see the options for super chats on this video, on the player you're looking at right now? Again, all I'm asking for is a confirmation in chat. I'm not asking for anything at all. I've never had that interface enabled when I was using the live stream feature on this platform, and I'm just curious to know if it's there as an option. So if we do these on an ongoing basis and they're scheduled in advance, that is something that's going to produce possibly some income from it. So just a yes, I see it. No, I don't see it. Whiskey says no idea what Super Chat is. It's down near the chat interface itself, and it probably has like a heart or a $ next to it, Whiskey. Okay, Mongo, perfect.
Again, this team did that first initial assessment, and they're going to continue to monitor for any potential hypergolic leaks. Again, making sure the team is safe out there from the crew
In fact, I could probably pop it up in another browser window.
Very warm, as you saw us before. We're wearing sunglasses. It's really bright out here, and so we're protecting our eyes. Drinking lots of water as we again welcome.
I actually don't.
Orbital flight test 2.
I see ads. Oh, but I need to sign into chat. Oh, Captain Inia, how are you? Goodness gracious. Good to see you, buddy. Thank you for being here.
We're going to go ahead and toss it on back as they're completing that assessment. We're going to get back into our cars and be able to move in.
Yeah, I tried to open it up in an unlogged in browser window to see whether it showed me, and you cannot chat apparently if you're not logged in. So it wouldn't show me that that option. You do see the $sign. That's fine. Thank you very much. And Captain Minnie, I'm really glad to have you here. God, I love my Twitch community. Yeah, except for the headache this morning. And again, the acetaminophen, which is called Tylenol commonly. Not that I'm sponsored by them. I took that when I got up, and that seems to have helped. It's sort of allergy and sinus related. Took some sinus meds as well. So it's pressure from the weather changes, and then it just turns into a banger of a headache right above my eyebrows between the eyes. Kind of like somebody hits me in the head with a hammer. Yeah, it's something exactly, Mongo. It's a way of it's some folks, some big streamers who do live things will almost use it as a filter to answer questions. Like you have to drop a super chat, but it's a way of saying thanks, like dropping bits on Twitch, and it's a way of drawing attention to your message to the streamer or their streamer and their guests. Yeah, those guys are definitely in their hazmat suits. Either that or they are the world's most confused scuba divers ever. Check out the high visibility boots in orange. By the way, the lagging you're seeing in the feed there, that is coming directly from NASA's drone. That's not from me. Not quite as scorched a vehicle as the Crew Dragon appears to be, but it's also got, well, you know what? I was going to say it's got a gray paint scheme, but it's actually a pretty brightly colored gray. So it is probably scorched up pretty good. It's not turned on for me.
This one again from Bill Ingalls, a NASA photographer who was part of that the landing convoy, getting looks like a photo just seconds before touchdown there. And a beautiful sight.
Captain Minia, the thrusters on the Starliner in some cases use what's called a hypergolic propellant. And when that propellant is atomized and becomes airborne, if it's present after the vehicle has landed, it can be incredibly toxic to life as we know it. It's a very, 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 very toxic substance. If you go back and look at old videos of the space shuttle landing, when it first came to a stop, you'll see like a vehicle pull up and it's got this air sniffer system on it, and there'll be people walking around in what I will euphemistically call moon suits, but basically hazmat suits that are lighter in color than you see here. And they'd go around sniffing the vehicle because they could not access the vehicle safely with the ground personnel or remove the crew if those toxic propellants are present in the air. And again, these are not the main rocket motors. These are the ones for maneuvering. And the benefit of using them is that they don't require like a spark ignition. They pass the toxic propellant over like a metal screen. And as it comes in contact with the screen acts like a catalyst, and a high velocity atomization and vapor thrust is produced. So it's very simple and very, very reliable. But the downside is the fuel itself is very toxic.
You may be able to tell some of the flags that are on each of those trucks that differentiate which team we're talking about. As we've mentioned many times, they are designated by color. And so that'll give you a good indication of which team's turn it is to come in and do their part to get the spacecraft ready for more folks to come in and eventually.
I do have Super Chat turned on my account, just FYI. Under the impression it was on right now. Oh, it says monetization is limited. Interesting. That's ridiculous.
It's only been 26 minutes now since Starliner touchdown, so you can get an idea of how quickly those landing and recovery team can move in.
Unbelievable.
Land recovery. Already through that hydrazine sniff test that we've been talking about, and getting ready to move on to the Silver team's grounding electrical test.
Thanks, Mongo. Yeah, I just looked at the account back end, and it YouTube in its infinite wisdom has decided that it's got limited advertising because there's something controversial about it, which is absolutely wrong, obviously. Toxic in the sense of, I think, poisoning Whiskafox, Captain Minya. No, this account, unlike my Twitch account, this account has a long history of monetization, and super chats are enabled on the back end. Yeah, it appears to be that YouTube somehow thinks that the nature of the content, maybe they think it's violence related or something incorrect like that. This is simply a NASA stream, obviously. YouTube gets this wrong on a regular basis. I have a video that involves the point of view of an airplane that has a simulated in-flight emergency, and the video is completely it's a ride entertainment film, and YouTube for the longest time thought it was somehow depicting something that was harmful when it was just meant to be pure entertainment, just like an adventure film might be. So, yeah, YouTube just, the AI does not know what it's doing, which is pretty typical. It looks like they're getting more and more confident that they can bring crew closer. The quad screen look here is very warehouse security-esque. Did it really, Mongo? Oh my goodness. Now you made me hungry for pastrami. I haven't had a good pastrami sandwich in a very long time. Oh my goodness gracious. So if you're just joining us, we've got a successful touchdown here of the Boeing Starliner on its Orbital Flight Test 2, or OFT-2. OFT-2 was required because OFT-1 didn't go terribly well. But this has gone relatively well, despite the fact that there were some issues with the thrusters on the way uphill, that is to say, on the way to the International Space Station. Part of the challenge related to that is going to be that at least some of those thrusters were in the service module. the service module separated from the crew module prior to atmospheric interface, i.e. reentry, and that vehicle burns up. So they don't ever get those thrusters and their components back to examine them. So they're going to have to do their troubleshooting based on the data that they see from the spacecraft, sort of like the telemetry of what would be a flight data recorder on an airplane. Yeah, warp core breach in progress indeed. Not hearing a whole lot more out of the NASA feed. I hope we get a nice close-up shot here, though, before we wrap this up. Captain, I cannot work a miracle. I'm an engineer. Not a miracle worker. That's a terrible Scotty impersonation. Aero, why did you do that? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. There's an important lesson to learn here about making sure that that the video is not being somehow constrained thanks to
confirmation now that the Silver team has been able to ground the vehicle, and ground cooling has now been established.
Yeah, I'm sorry, was shouldn't do that, especially recovering from a headache. Terrible, terrible Scottish impersonation, and in front of you of all people. Instant unsubscribe. I'm sorry, my friend.
Our NASA and Boeing colleagues are still in a holding pattern right now as they wait to get the go-ahead that it is safe to move closer to the spacecraft. And once they do that and we establish a shot with them, we will go back out to them live to get an update on what they can see from their perspective.
Let's get us some close-ups of the spacecraft. That's what I want to see. By the way, I've managed to catch. Yeah, I'm sorry. I can usually do a bit better than that, but yeah, that was terrible, Captain Media. I'm assuming Durek, I think that's his name, is a Scot. Either that or he's a Geordie. I caught his stream the other day. I've been a follower for quite a long time, but I don't often get to see him. He's hilarious. Green team hold, exactly. I mean, seriously, isn't this like security camera, warehouse security camera vibe? This is like a whole aesthetic. A whole aesthetic. And that's when we saw the raccoons crawling into the warehouse. That's kind of what I feel is coming next, with some anticipatory music playing. I really wonder what the temperature is. Let's find out right now. The temperature in White Sands, New Mexico. It's actually not too bad. I don't know what this is in. Oh, actually, I do. So the forecast is for a high of 91. No, I don't actually. That's the low. Is 91 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't know what that is in Celsius. My guess is that's in the 30s, probably about 33 or 34. And the wind is blowing 6 miles per hour, which isn't too bad. Humidity is pretty low at 9%. So it's hot out there. Captain Minio, when people realize flying car is a plane. We have a name for that. They're called planes. Yes. What time are you going to go live for tonight for boats? I anticipate it'll be 8 p.m., maybe just a wee bit earlier. I don't know. I think you were around on Monday night. We got started at about 45 minutes early. It's like D-I-U-E. Let me see if I can find the correct spelling of his name. Not live at the moment. He actually, I don't know if you guys know this, but for some strange reason, I made the best of Twitch new video compilation. There's a link to it, and it's embedded in the Discord in the World of Warships section. It's Captain Minia. It's Delta India Uniform Romeo Alpha Charlie Hotel. Delta India Uniform Romeo Alpha Charlie Hotel. He is funny. He is a great player, and I find him very entertaining. Great guy. And I'm not. Like I said, I think he's a Scot, but if he's not, he's definitely a Geordie. Very, very, very thick accent and a wonderful beard. Giant robots. Yes, exactly. Well, Captain Minia, you'll find perhaps an ally in Freddie Fuddpucker talking about the wonderful world of Japanese literature, culture, world sort of building. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Your mileage may vary. He may not be to your taste, but I enjoy him, and I find him quite amusing. He's got a great laugh as well. Yeah, flying cars. Arguably, forgetting the airplane reference a moment ago, they are with us in the form of these the urban air mobility vehicles that are coming. Initially as on-demand sort of flying taxi Uber devices, assuming that they're let into our urban communities. They need to be allowed into the cities by the communities and the regulators, or there's no basis for no economic basis for their presence as urban air mobility vehicles. They'd have to find a different role, like that of the helicopter. But these electrified eVTOLs, where they could lift you up from a parking structure 15, 20 miles outside of town and whisk you over to the international airport or to the downtown area, or perhaps further out into the suburbs or even into rural areas, avoiding the need for a ground segment is what is being promised to us right now. I have my doubts. Certainly in the USA, I have my doubts because it is so difficult to get permission to operate aircraft of any kind in proximity to built-up residential housing. Well, Captain Minia, that's an interesting question, because initially they're being built to be flown by human beings, but the entire business model is predicated on them being operated completely autonomously and on demand with the app on your mobile device. I'm not even going to call it a phone anymore. Service where you can summon it. You drive in your self-driving car to the parking structure. You do the mobile app interface between your vehicle, the parking, and your ticketing, and you take the elevator ride or the escalator to the upstairs floor or floors to board your recharged urban air mobility device that you may share with other passengers who you don't know. And you're whisked away with complete anonymous operation. And the reason for that is for the margins to look anything close to being profitable, they need to not have to pay human beings to fly them. So it's a very interesting question, and perhaps the subject of perhaps a live panel discussion we should do. I've attended several of these panel discussions with industry experts over the years, and it's left me interested but skeptical.
And you may have noticed there that our teams have backed away from the spacecraft. They are doing so after detecting a very low amount of hydrazine.
Hydrazine is the propellant that that they've detected, or which is the one that we were talking about earlier, the hypergolics.
When it's safe and begin those procedures.
This has a. Speaking of aesthetics, this now has the aesthetic of a space shuttle landing combined with a construction site, or a Ford commercial, or a Dodge Ram commercial.
We have several teams that will be moving in shortly to
When you got to get the job done all the way to outer space, you need the right truck
starting with the gold team.
and the right boots.
That we did see just a short time ago doing that sniff test for the hydrazine. They do this with a device while wearing
Did they, Mongo? I did not know that.
mat suits just to prevent any exposure to that hypergolic propellants.
Yep.
Hydrazine is used
Captaminia,
if it turns into vapor, it can be very toxic. So
like I say, I have my doubts about the technology.
and then they will notify the rest of the team when it's safe to move in. They also
Oh, you're not being unimaginative.
winds are blowing.
I'm very sympathetic. I'm one of the people that actually still feel that it might be more expensive but safer to continue to have the person that we used to call a flight engineer on board airliners. You know, I'm old enough to remember 747s and 727s flown by a crew of three. Somebody sitting sideways in there looking at all the system gauges and providing a third opinion on whether it's safe to descend and be as cleared for the approach.
From the drone again up in the right-hand corner of your screen.
Oh, Mongo, thank you so much, man. Again, you can't see it, but hand on heart, bud. I really appreciate you being here. I appreciate all of your kind words. You are such a good dude. Thank you so much. It sounds like you're going to be stepping away, and just want to say thanks so much for being here, bud.
And a lot of practice is going into this time, even though we don't have astronauts on board.
Yeah, smoke it used to be allowed on airplanes as well.
As if we do, so that they get some
Yeah, now,
practice in before
you know, what's weird is that they got rid of flight engineers, and then they developed aircraft with such long range that they ended up having redundant crews. So, you know, one step backwards, maybe two steps forward. These super long haul flights obviously now have at least one and usually two, or sometimes I should say two crew members in reserve in the two seats, and the only two seats that face forward up in the cockpit.
we did already have confirmation that the vehicle was grounded. Of course, Starliner was powered down already, but because there can be some residual electricity, it is important for that team to come in and ground the
Yeah, I would imagine that the vehicle moving through the atmosphere, well, hello, video, actually produces an extraordinary amount of static discharge electricity buildup.
a lot of the NASA and Boeing team members.
Little St. Elmo's fire, Captain Minia.
To congratulate the flight controllers.
Oh yeah, go get them, Mongo. I hope you guys have a great clan battle season. I don't know how much we're going to be playing in my clan, the clan I'm a part of. It's not my clan.
Left-hand corner of the screen here, talking to Steve.
But yeah, go get them, buddy.
Program manager.
Go get that silver. Go get those wins.
Lammers has officially handed over control of the vehicle, so his part today is done. He's now enjoying handshakes around the room. The team.
Captain Minia, that's interesting question.
Starliner
You know, there.
the work they've done over the course of this mission.
I struggle with the idea of highly focused, single use, if you will, specialized anything, whether it's a lens, a kitchen appliance, a vehicle like a Concorde, or even a car, you know, versus something that's a little more multitasking. And Concorde was certainly a specialist. My overall opinion is specialist things tend to work better, really well for the tasks they're designed for, while the multitaskers tend to be pretty mediocre at a bunch of different things. And there are times when that makes the most sense in terms of the resources that are available. I didn't get to fly on Concorde, and I regret it. And I wish I had, and would still love to. Supersonic is being mooted once again commercially. Multiple corporate and even airliner projects are being pursued. I don't know. Sometimes things that are actually quite miraculous in their achievements and their performance turn out to be what we call white elephants, because they're miraculous in the wrong place at the wrong time. Concorde had a pretty good run. It wasn't exactly a white elephant, but it clearly became a dinosaur very quickly. It was out-evolved by the ecosystem in which it dwelled. Yeah, that's whose quote is that? Is that like a patent quote, or something from Star Trek or Star Wars or something? That sounds familiar, and it's a great quote. Yeah, and there are lots of things that people thought they designed to do a certain thing, and they turned out to be unbelievably flexible and capable of doing other things. My favorite example of that in aviation is the helicopter. The things that helicopters have been doing successfully beyond the scope of the original vision it's almost impossible to list from memory. I can't. In fact, I'm not even going to try. It's from Apollo 13. Oh, great. Yeah. That's from the problem solving of Apollo 13. Captain Minia, that sounds about right. Yeah, just speaking of problem solving, as I was listening to the NASA stream here before I went live, just to show you that something with all of the resources, all the planning, all the technology, the person that you heard speaking from Boeing earlier, not too long after the touchdown, talking about getting closer and hoping to have videos turned on, was talking about how they couldn't actually produce any live video initially, because after all of the rehearsals and after all the planning and with all the resources of NASA and Boeing, late last night, in terms of the planning cycle, there was a change of their location for where they would begin their staging today. All the plans they had made, all the rehearsals they had done, all of the apparently parking of their critical comms equipment would end up being different than what they had planned for. And the comms equipment was going to be at a different location than they needed it to be in order to produce live video at the outset of the stream's post-landing section. So Boeing had to throw the plans for their live video content at that milestone of this mission out the window and improvise. Gene Cernan? I think you're probably talking about Gene Cernan, maybe. Or Gene Kranz. Maybe Gene Kranz. It's probably Gene Kranz, the guy with the crew cut. Freddie Fuddpucker is great with quotes and trivia from movies and TV. I gotta say, actually, one of the things about this interface is, without having to play the game, it's actually a little simpler to do this and to keep an eye on the chat.
And you can see the gold team.
My great-grandparents used their pension to fly on Concorde. They didn't have enough money to stay in New York, though. They just flew there and back. Oh, my goodness. and they were your great grandparents. That makes me feel quite old, Captain Minya. But I'm glad they got to experience it.
To protect them from any exposure to the hypergolic propellant.
So we've been live now for an hour. That I find surprising. Well, I was a wee lad in the 70s. Oh yeah, Captain Minya. Yeah, in the 70s, the 707 was still one of the regulars in airline service. And a hill I will die on is that the 707, with that forward-pointing radio antenna in its tail, the top of the vertical stab, is one of the most beautiful machines ever built. Hey, mutton sourdough, buddy! How are you, my friend? Another great member from the Twitch family. Folks, I don't think that the shout out thing is possible here, but look up Mutton Sourdough on twitch.tv. Wonderful human being, great streamer, really great guy. And let me add, since we're doing that, Freddie Fudpucker. You see his name in chat. Look him up on twitch.tv. Great streamer, great human being. Absolutely entertaining, wonderful guy. Drop both those folks a follow. Please.
Everybody did back away from the capsule, and that was by design. So the gold team was in. They detected a faint trace of hydrazine. So this is something they train for. This is something they prepare for.
So once again, what we're doing here and why we have the little green men, as somebody in chat pointed out, clustered around the Boeing Starliner spacecraft here, is that there's an unsafe amount of hydrazine thruster propellant detected, either on or near or possibly even draining out of the spacecraft. It's in the air. Their sniffer devices have detected it in the air, and hydrazine is highly toxic. Let me actually get you the 411 on hydrazine, so I don't misspeak here. So this is from Wikipedia. Hydrazine is an inorganic compound. It is a simple pnictogen hydride, colorless, flammable liquid with an ammonia-like odor. Highly toxic unless handled in solution. It's used in lots of different solutions, foaming agents, blah, blah, blah. Let's look at the health effects. Potential routes of hydrogen exposure include dermal, your skin, ocular, your eyes, inhalation, breathing it in, and ingestion, apparently drinking it. It can cause skin irritation, contact dermatitis, and burning, irritation to the eye, nose, and throat, nausea, vomiting, shortness of breath, pulmonary edema, headache, dizziness, central nervous system, depression. That is to say, depression of the central nervous system function, not like clinical depression. Lethargy, temporary blindness, seizures, and coma. It can also damage the liver, kidneys, and central nervous system. And yeah, basically, you don't want to be breathing this stuff in. Yeah, ain't no joke. Oh, well, Mutton, you are the best, buddy. Thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, all the indications are so far that OFT-2 has gone pretty well. We don't know what the spacecraft is going to reveal when they tear it apart. And that will have a strong influence on whether NASA certificates this vehicle and the system to carry precious live human cargo. Self-loading cargo, as Flight International used to refer to passengers.
Something they practice extensively for, and really everything just worked out perfectly
I don't know whether this is as expected. Obviously, they anticipate hydrazine leaks or venting on an ongoing basis. They always do in spacecraft. Space Shuttle had a huge truck that had a sniffer arm on it that would pull up next to it, particularly near the aft section.
Make sure that there was no residual electricity. You may have noticed the hazmat team was touching the vehicle. That is something they were able to safely do because that grounding did occur earlier.
It does seem somewhat counterintuitive that you build this thing to carry human beings and you use the propellant. And again, this is tradition in the space flight industry. I'm not blaming them or trolling them, but it seems counterintuitive that you use a propellant that if it's anywhere near the outside of your vehicle, you can't open it up and bring the occupants and the cargo out. Well, you could probably do it, but you'd have to have them in hazmat suits. And then those hazmat suits would need to be decontaminated before the people could get out of them.
The next thing that we'll be seeing here shortly is the green team coming in to set up the environmental enclosure that will go over the crew module.
Oh, I can imagine, Captain Mania. Yeah, in a closed environment, being exposed to lots of carbon monoxide.
Right over the top.
That is no bueno.
And that will be to help them.
Absolutely, Mutton. It would be great for the tradition of accomplishment, and it would obviously also be wonderful to have a second space launch system to carry astronauts and cargo to the International Space Station. It's pretty amazing to think that we're living in a time where there are two commercial spacecraft close to reaching operational status that carry passengers to and from a permanently crewed space platform that's been going on decades. It's also pretty amazing, you know, when we're so used to things like Star Wars and Star Trek, that the best shape our species can come up with. And again, this isn't a troll. This is an observation of where we are versus where fantasy or creativity suggests we may someday be. So in a world where we are familiar with the technologies of Star Wars and Star Trek, just as quick examples, we basically have, you know, the blunt end of a cannonball as the best shape to come re-enter the Earth's atmosphere. And the thing falls without too much guidance down to Earth once it's entered the atmosphere under parachutes. It is not flying back to Earth and landing. It's falling.
With at least a 6-month turnaround time.
Those airbags are holding their charge pretty well. Again, for those of you that just joined, the airbags are full of nitrogen. To the best of my knowledge, there are no little retro rockets firing just before touchdown, which is a feature of the Blue Origin's capsule technology. They use airbags, they use parachutes, they land on the ground, and then there's like a little burst of rocket fire that also softens the landing on the Blue Origin capsule, the current configuration at least. They are going to retire the ISS. Absolutely true, Captain Minia. It is going to probably be done by the 2030s. Yes, Mutton, absolutely magical. Yeah, that's one of the arguments that you could make in the fan worlds of Star Wars versus Star Trek. There's somewhat less magic in Star Trek, but there's still a lot of magic. Transporters, warp speed, deflector dishes, replicators, stuff like that. But Star Wars is like, you think that's fantasy? Hold my beer. Hold my beer. It's one of the things I like a lot about The Expanse. I don't know if any of you folks are watching The Expanse, but there's only a small amount of magic in The Expanse by comparison to Star Trek. And to be clear, I'm both Team Star Wars and Team Star Trek, but slightly more in the Star Trek camp. I think they do use nitrogen in some aircraft tires. Although in general aviation tires, we put regular old, atmospheric air pressurized into them. When I worked as a line crewman, but I was called a line boy. Star Wars has more magic than Harry Potter. You left out "fight me" at the end of that, Captain Minia. That should be a T-shirt or a coffee mug. That's a great line. That is a great line. Yep. Yeah, I truly enjoy both worlds, both universes, really. I also enjoy Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, Middle Earth, and all that jazz. Yep. I on Wednesday night streams, it'll be tonight, I wear my T-shirts, which I haven't made available for sale, but maybe I should. It's sort of what is the term? Not damaged, fatigued. No, what is the word? When you take a graphic and you make it look like it's old and worn out and damaged. There's an actual term of art for it. Anyway, I have one that kind of looks like it would be something that NASA would issue. Distressed, I think, is the word I'm looking for. Distressed is the term. Anyway, it says, "I love science like flat earthers love eating glue." Yeah, thank you, Mutton. Thank you. How we say in my country, distressed. Or as one of my mentors would say when somebody couldn't get a sentence out correctly, including me or him, actually, he would say, "Well, that's easy for you to say," when it clearly was not. Again, unlike my ISP issues on Monday nights in particular, the grain you're seeing in the video is coming straight from NASA. That is your tax dollars at work.
So this is the silver team that has moved in now.
All right, it looks like they've got the AOK from the folks working with the hydrazine.
Did that a little bit earlier.
And the guy in the safety vest looks like he's trying to catch a fish there.
Electricity. Of course, Starliner was already powered down, but it's just an extra.
They're sawing the parachute cable there. He's got like a saw, it looks like. Yep. Wow. When your spacecraft hangs by cords that can be cut by a saw, that's interesting. I think those are the parachute cables. I mean, what if a prehistoric pterodactyl comes and tries to attack your spacecraft as it's re-entering? There's a movie plot for you. Your dad does that too. Oh, well, just remember, Mutton, I'm not your real dad. You don't have to listen to me. Now, this part is definitely feeling like it's American, truck commercial. Guys in their safety vests with their pickup trucks in the desert. Chevy, Ford, Dodge, you owe me money if you steal that idea and you make commercials with it. There you go. Well, the edge of the planetary disk? Yeah, because it's a flat Earth. Absolutely, Mutton. Yeah, Captain Minia and Mutton. I don't know if you know this. You probably got here a little bit late. Captain Minia is Whiska Fox from our chat. Wonderful, wonderful person, and a member of the aviation fraternity. There are now flat earthers. I've seen this in their own literature. There are flat earther believers all around the world, all over the entire globe. I think they had literature that actually said that without any sense of self-consciousness whatsoever. Doesn't this look like it is an incredibly informal, small process. It almost is starting to look like a location for a music video. You know, they'll need a smoke machine and some fans, and the recording artist will be standing seriously in front of the spacecraft and start dancing like Michael Jackson in Thriller, which is actually a pretty good music video. Whatever you think of Michael Jackson, that was pretty good for its time. And Mutton, you're such a youngster. Actually, both you and Captain Minnie are so young. You're gonna have to look that up in on Wikipedia or in a history book. Yeah, exactly. They did. I don't think it was them being trolled. I think there was an actual link I saw to an official website. Yeah, no self-awareness whatsoever. And the reason I made my T-shirt, the reason I put that artwork together was because I was getting on the space videos on this channel comments about the flat Earth from flat earthers, like all of it, like all the NASA stuff is fake. Excuse me. For example, like this is being put on and it's fake. I'm not saying it's fake, to be clear. Don't take this out of context. This is real. I've seen 3 space shuttle landings, you know, where the spacecraft came down from space. The Earth is not flat. But the people who believe in the flat Earth would tell you that that this is being faked, and it is absolutely not.
And on the right side of your screen,
this is too much effort and too many rough edges for this to be faked.
Attention to, because they will be opening the hatch. That team is made up mostly of Boeing Fire Rescue, and as you can see there, they're moving that mobile access platform in.
The mobile access platform, that is a glorious name
So they can have the
for basically a work platform.
opening the hatch.
That is a glorious name.
Had we had astronauts on board that would be getting them out.
So, you know, I built the mobile access platform for the Boeing Starliner, you know, seen at a bar. Really? You got a picture of it? Yeah, here. It's this flatbed truck with a frame. It's an important piece of kit, don't get me wrong, but it's a really grandiose title for it. You did, Mutton. Excellent. Oh my God, I love that. Yeah, great music, great artist.
We're ready now to take you back to the landing site to hear more from Dan Hewitt and Rosa Bueno.
Absolutely, guys. Absolutely, Mutton. Yep.
The latest information on what's going on out there.
My girlfriend has a young son who likes music quite a lot. And he had never seen the Thriller video. And I said, this is probably going to blow your mind. He enjoyed it quite a bit. To see that, not even having any awareness of it, was pretty amazing. So this was the video feed that they said that they couldn't do because their equipment was stationed in a different location than they were going to be stationed. The human beings were told they couldn't be where they thought they were going to be, and all their camera gear and communications like networking, data transfer stuff was in a place that was out of range of their ability to reach it. So here's some nice close-ups. I wanted to keep the stream going long enough that we could get a good look at the spacecraft. And there is was it the mobile access platform? Yeah, the mobile access platform. Oh my God. Okay, fun fact. When not in use on the Starliner program, this is also a wood chipper.
And then you may not be able to see it in every single view, but there's a large to the right of the capsule from our viewpoint with a big Starliner on the side. And that's the medical truck.
It does have that little cylinder on the end to protect it, like a bumper, you can see. So it's got that going for it. They're in White Sands, New Mexico. You can be sure that everything is going to have dust in it at the end of today, including the people that are out there working. Hey, it's a wood chipper, but it's a NASA spec wood chipper. I love the toolboxes on the side. What's the guys? What's the name for that metal with the pattern on it?
Be used in case of anything. So again, we are still moving forward with putting up that mobile access platform, and the team is still now.
Gosh,
Looks like they're adding some of the.
come on, Bert. Where's the shim? All right, great. Did you? Hey, you did remember to empty the porta potty in this thing before we drug it out here, didn't you? Oh, I thought because it was empty. Well, I gotta go.
Provides encouraged positive pressure inside of the capsule. We also have, again, like an HVAC cooling system already hooked up to provide cooling inside the capsule. And you're going to be able
Oh my God, that Captain Minia, it looks like they're about to drain the heads, but that's actually sweep it off. He says the gypsum is everywhere. I bet it really is. That actually is, as a photographer, you folks know I'm a photographer. That is one of my biggest nightmares. I wanted to photograph Burning Man once just to do it. Yeah, metal footplate. But my fear is like destroying the camera gear. I'm not a Burning Man person, but it's a visual feast for sure, with the pyrotechnics and all the stuff they do in the desert light. But the idea that the idea that my camera gear would be exposed to that kind of dust terrifies me.
That's providing some of that positive air into the crew module and keeping any of that dust outside. And that's part of the purge system. It's really critical to keep the humidity levels at a stable condition inside.
Dudes, let's get the level on your video correct.
Open that hatch. So we're seeing some great views on our side here. Again, the team continues to work. Continue to work on setting up those different systems. That mobile platform looks like it's ready. The team is up there working.
I'm not trying to be mean here, but this really looks very informal. Oh, I lost the video. Somebody run out of bandwidth on their cell phone? Yeah.
Looks like we have some technical.
Oh, we're back to the warehouse security cam.
But we'll hang on to see if we can get them back in a little bit later. But as Rosa was saying, the mobile platforms moving in for the hatch opening of Starliner, so the teams can begin unloading, among other things, Rosie.
If you didn't hear, apparently, YouTube in its infinite wisdom thought that there was something. Whether or not this is suitable for all audiences and advertisers, because they forgot to charge the batteries. Yeah, dust will kill all the moving parts. It'll kill the sensor. Crank the generator, exactly. Now here, you guys know I like to laugh and all that sort of jazz, but huge respect for everybody involved in designing and building this machine that just left our planet's atmosphere, left the surface, then left the atmosphere, flew autonomously to a spacecraft in orbit, docked successfully autonomously, and has returned and landed pretty close to where they had hoped that it would land. Big props to everybody involved.
But again, we're getting into our hatch operation, so the access panel on the hatch is getting opened up.
That handle that you see there on the left-hand side, the silver handle, I believe that's added after landing. I can't imagine that flew to space and back, although it does look like it's heat damaged. That's an interesting question to get answered. If you guys see what I'm talking about, like that sort of grab handle on the left side of the hatch to the right of the NASA logo, it looks heat damaged, but I just cannot imagine that went to space and back. I bet there's probably mount points there, and it's somebody with a Makita drill attaches it after it lands.
But again, we're very happy that we have Starliner back home here in New Mexico, and again, that we've had a successful test flight in preparation for our next crew flight test.
And one of the
yes, exactly, Mutton, absolutely. Yeah, I would imagine that something like it maybe thought it was warfare or military, which it is not. YouTube, this is space, this is NASA, this is science. But
monitors and a couple of utilization items from our NanoRacks modules on board.
oh my goodness, in Celsius if I can. I think it's 3000 F from memory. I think it's 3000 F. I'm going to have to Google this to give you the right answer.
A number of different blood samples, other things like that, just prior to their return, and those get sewed into cold bags.
1930 centigrade, 3500 degrees F.
And that's one of the really
So 1930 centigrade.
From the space station, and that's one of the reasons we're really excited to have Starliner come on board and add another cargo delivery.
It looks like they have taped, I may be wrong, but it looks like they've taped status envelopes or something over some of those hatches after they've completed procedures. I may be wrong.
That time-sensitive cargo will get brought off board today. The rest will remain on board Starliner until
Yeah, that is very hot.
Facility, including
Like even a glass of water is not going to be cool enough for you in 1900 C.
People have heard about the nitrogen oxygen recharge system that we use to essentially recharge the atmosphere on board the space station.
There are little umbilical cords. I don't know if you can see them in the lower left-hand side of the frame. They've got like pneumatic hoses plugged in. So there's obviously jacks there after the that are exposed after the main heat shield drops off. There you go, the red and the blue hose. And it also looks like maybe they've stuck the like shims or something under the bottom. Maybe I'm misreading that. Once again, this capsule is intended to be refurbished and flown up to 10 times. And it's about the only thing that's going to be reflown on this particular system.
I think I said it earlier, it was pretty surreal for Starliner to just appear in the air. At first, it feels like it's almost above you, even though it was several kilometers downrange from us. Those airbags are really cool.
Wow, fine. Fine, Captain Media. Just go ahead and ruin a glass of water for me.
Also a central airbag in the very center of the capsule. That only gets used if Starliner is in a water.
Actually, it's an ablative coating that burns away through layers. It's it's an ablative coating that I believe has a combination of ceramics as well as composites. So there's enough there to burn off for the duration that they expect to be exposed to the temperatures. There we go. Then there's a frame that they put in the hatch. So we've been going now an hour and 28 minutes. I believe they touched down about 20 minutes after my stream began. So it took them about an hour, roughly an hour, to get the hatch open to the point where they could really be talking face to face with the astronauts.
Starliner was landing in White Sands, New Mexico. It was landing at about
Yeah, I don't even think the whiskey stones would help. I mean, I'm not, like rocket surgeon, but I think mutton, that probably wouldn't be sufficient.
and then of course cushioned by those landing airbags.
This location. Oh, they lost their video feed again. Back to warehouse cam. This also could double like a a dry lake bed speed meetup. Now, if this was the days of Apollo, they, of course, would be probably wearing masks and such to avoid potential contamination from the crew with unknown pathogens from space after they have landed on the surface of the moon. Oh, here's some info on the hydrazine.
And has to check the vehicle out to make sure it's safe for others to approach. When they got in, they have these things called sniffers that come in and check for hazardous gases such as hydrazine. They came in, the thruster covers were put on, and they got a little bit of a high reading. So they fell back like they were supposed to and made sure that they could assure that the area was safe. They went back, checked again, and all of it had dissipated, so everything was safe. So the team reacted just like they were supposed to. It was a sort of a nominal situation that we sometimes encounter, and everything's back to normal, and the team is off getting the vehicle saved.
And that's why it's so important that we practice these types of things to ensure the safety of everyone that's here.
Absolutely, and today was just a perfect example of how well this team is really trained.
Absolutely. And, you know, today's been a long time coming. It's now finally landed. How do you feel?
I feel great. There's lots of emotion. First of all, really happy for this team. So many people have been working on this for 10 years and, you know, just waiting for today to be here so that we could have a successful mission. I'm proud of the team because they've just put so much work and effort into this. And then I'm really humbled because, you know, I'm standing on the backs of two really excellent program managers that got us here, and John Mulholland and John Vollmer. They have to be sitting home with big old smiles on their face.
Oh, I'm sure they are, as is a lot of the team that's here today. Have you had a chance to talk to anybody, any of the ground crews just yet?
Oh, a lot of folks. They're just ecstatic. You know, this was really something, seeing the vehicle come in and just gently come back to Earth and settle down on the lake bed here. So it's just been incredible. People are really feeling good.
Absolutely. It was definitely a beautiful sight watching it come down. And I know we'll hear a little bit more from you a little later today. I believe you're going to be a part of that post-landing conference that's going to happen on NASA TV a little later today. And for now, we're going to send it back to our friends over at KSC or JSC. I'm not sure where y'all are at. Lauren, Brady?
Thanks so much, Megan.
All right, I'm going to pull the audio back down here just a bit, just so we could chat a bit more. First of all, I can't do a traditional Twitch shout out, but twitch.tv for the Jen Burke, another one of the wonderful people from the Twitch community, has been kind enough to show up here. He is a wonderful person, very entertaining streamer. Please look him up on twitch.tv and drop him a follow and help him grow his channel. Really appreciate you being here. That guy, by the way, is going to be featured, a quote from him from the post-launch press conference in a video that I'm working on for this YouTube channel regarding some sort of interesting things that we're seeing during the ride uphill to the International Space Station. So that's actually coming. I've been working on it for the past couple of days, not quite done yet. We don't see him on camera because they conducted the press conference as audio only, but we got a good quote from him describing some interesting phenomena that's going to be clearly visible in video that's a part of that video I do on the OFT-2 flight as it approached the International Space Station. So that's kind of fun. It's interesting getting to see him on camera there. So, folks, let me hear what they've got to say here.
And as Megan was talking to Mark Nappy, we did get a peek inside the crew capsule.
It looks crowded inside the crew capsule.
Everything looked good. She looked exactly in the place that the crew on the ISS left her just this morning as she undocked.
Yeah, it's just this morning in the local time zone, the Starliner there was attached to the International Space Station. Pretty remarkable that it's back on terra firma that quickly.
Along with the recovery team, he of course expects to be in the capsule for this scene next time it comes around. So it'll be great to hear his perspective. Lots of activity still to.
It's really a small scale operation. I was really expecting it to be a much larger operation. It probably will be when there are actual crew members to take out, but they are practicing as if there were crew members on board. This is the last rehearsal they're going to get with the spacecraft coming back from space before, if NASA certificates the system before they actually fly with people on board. That is quite some system for the hose with the lashing and everything else. It looks like she's waving a sniffer in there as well. It's kind of hard to see. That does look like a mobile air conditioning unit. Once again, folks, it's nice having the humans there for scale. This spacecraft can carry as many as 7.
And we're going to go back now to Megan Gessner.
But they're regularly going to carry 4.
Astronaut on the scene. Megan?
Let's hear what the astronauts have to say. Probably just PR stuff.
Okay, it looks like we're live, Butch.
Oh, wow.
So good to see you here today. I know you weren't able to make it out here for OFT-1, but today you are here in person. What are you feeling?
Oh, my. I mean, we all tracked towards from the beginning, from launch all the way through the mission, and this is what we were hoping for at the end, right? I mean, a soft, safe landing, culmination of all the hard work. I mean, you've got to give a huge congratulations to the folks at Boeing, all the way from Mark Dabney, all the way down, everybody that's worked the program, gone through some difficult situations, and now to culminate in this after a wonderfully successful mission. I mean, well, you couldn't ask for more.
Absolutely. Definitely takes a big team effort to have all this happen. You know, now as a casual observer, you know, I see one thing when I see a spaceship coming down.
I'm going to yank that down because of the audio and the loss of signal. I find it a bit ironic that she's saying she's a casual observer, or maybe just a bit incorrect, because obviously she's far from being casual observer. And that was pretty much just PR. But I wanted to also answer the Jen Burke's question. What is the Boeing's reusability standard? I think what you're asking is like, what is going to be reused on the system? That is one of the huge differences between this and SpaceX's approach. The capsule there that you're looking at in the shot in what I've been calling the warehouse CCT mood room. This capsule is about all that is going to be reused, and it's going to be reused about 10 times. The first stage, the second stage, the service module are all being tossed away. They're not reusable at all. SpaceX, on the other hand, has a booster that lands on a barge or on land occasionally, but mostly on a barge. And they refurbish a considerable amount of it and fly it again. One of the boosters that has flown human beings with Crew Dragon has flown something like 12 times now. The upper stage is Crew Dragon, and it successfully flies itself to the space station and back, and then Crew Dragon is, of course, refurbished. I don't remember exactly how many times the Crew Dragon capsule flies, but it definitely flies multiple times. So the overall reusability of the two systems could hardly be more different. Beyond that, and definitely a part of that is reusability, the cost to the taxpayer, the U.S. government, is vastly different. Despite being troubled, to put it gently, the Boeing Starliner program is much, much, much more expensive to the taxpayer than the SpaceX system. That doesn't necessarily make it worse if it worked and delivered higher value. I'm one of these people that doesn't equate cost alone as a measure of value. if something like, say, a good quality lens is more expensive than a cheap lens, but it allows you to do the thing you need to do and do it over an extended period of time, that's actually a better value for dollar. But I believe the jury is out on that particular subject right now. But with the preponderance of evidence so far pointing in the direction that the SpaceX services are a higher value to the taxpayer, they're lower dollar cost, and they have been in operation and operating pretty reliably so far for a fairly extended or extensive amount of time. This is drone footage. The lag you're seeing there is not my ISP for a change. That's from the feed from the drone and from NASA. And, you know, giving them their due, it's got to be pretty hard to get high-speed bandwidth such that you could get a reliable stream out from the middle of White Sands, New Mexico's dry lake bed. That cannot be easy getting a good signal there. Even if they're going up to a satellite, there's, of course, going to be delays back and forth. Wouldn't it be ironic to learn that they're trying to use the SpaceX Starlink? This is just conjecture here, and it's I don't know one or the other. If they were using Starlink to live stream this, that would be pretty funny to find out. I'm not saying they are. I have no idea, but it just dawned on me as my mouth was moving that it would be pretty crazy. Because traditional satellite comms are very hard up and down to space, and you know there's not a lot of nearby cell towers, I'm sure, to this location.
So we're going to go back to NASA's Dan Hewitt and Boeing's Rosa Benuelos to give us one final report for the day.
We'll wrap up after this update here.
Hey, thanks, Brandy. Yeah, we'll get through it quick just in case we drop out. So all the hatch operations have continued. They're moving inside the capsule now, so we're about to get into the cargo operations. Again, we've got a small amount of cargo that's going to come off, some radiation monitors, and then a couple of other utilization or science items. And then one test that's going to be coming up in a little bit is with some of the safety hardware that's on board. So the crew will actually have a satellite phone that they can plug into the CM or the command module systems that uses its antennas that they can then make a satellite call if they land somewhere in a remote area without a recovery team. So we're going to do that test in a little while. A plane's going to fly overhead to test it out, and then that'll largely wrap it up for most of the team before we head back in.
That's right, Dan. And again, we've taken quite a bit of time and really carefully gone through these procedures. This crew module is reusable up to 10 times. So we want to make sure it is in good condition, and so we could expand the lifetime. Again, this crew module will be used for our post-certification mission. And so again, after tonight, it will stay here, and then we will take it to a processing center and then take it back in a vehicle to back to Kennedy Space Center. So again, it's been a fantastic day. The sun is starting to go down. We probably will see a sunset to our right here in a little bit. But again, it's been a little warm, but again, we're hanging in there. Everybody is still, excited to be part of this mission. And again, as myself, I'm excited as well to be here. And so it's been a fantastic day.
Yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure to see Starliner come down, to see all the operations, watch the team walk through everything. Even when we hit a little bit of adversity, they overcame. The capsule's safe now, and welcome home, Starliner.
Yes, so welcome home.
That'll do it for us here in the desert. Thanks everybody who's been following along and watching. We hope we showed you a little bit of the magic, the excitement of human spaceflight. Looking forward to the next time when we're out here and there are humans coming out of Starliner.
Thank you. Back to you, Brandy and Lauren.
All right. Well, I'm going to take that audio all the way down to 0 and just take a moment to say thank you so much to the folks that were here from the very beginning all the way through the end. That was awkward phrasing. I mean, everybody that's been here from the start to finish, whether you showed up recently or at the start, I'm just incredibly grateful that you're here. This is a bit of an orbital flight test for me. I'm sure that everybody that's here, because you're part of the Twitch community in particular, knows that I don't, generally speaking, stream live on YouTube. So I was testing out some configurations and some setups here. I hope that it was from a technical standpoint, at least, acceptable for you folks. I will be doing more of these. I'm actually relatively pleased with the way the hardware and software behave. I'm going to try and get some other stuff together that adds a little more overlay interest to the stream itself. But we will be doing the science and technology live streams from YouTube. The World of Warships gameplay will be over on twitch.tv/aerospace-news. Of course, you can also find me on Twitter at Aerospace News and on Instagram. And of course, the website is aerospacenews.com. I'm going to wrap this up, and I am streaming at twitch.tv/aerospace-news tonight. In fact, in about 2.5 hours from now or so. So I hope that some of you folks can stop by and hang out with me there. Would really appreciate it if you dropped a follow and a like on this video. That helps out. It even helps out more if you take time to watch a couple of the videos on the channel and drop some likes and comments there. I'm trying to really grow this channel, and that tells YouTube that people enjoy the content. For those of you that have not been on the channel, if you sort my videos, not the live streams, but my videos by most popular with the greatest views, you can see a video that I made in the 80s that's got over 1 million views. It would be me being a young on-camera journalist. You might get a laugh out of that. If you watch that and drop a like on it and a comment, and then watch maybe one more, it's a pretty short one, like 5-6 minutes. It would help me out a great deal. And I appreciate you so much. The Twitch community is unbelievably wonderful. Folks that might be watching here on YouTube that are not known to me, thank you for being here and hanging out as well. And I hope that you have an absolutely wonderful rest of your day, everybody that's here. I'm going to wrap this up in about 15 seconds. So goodbye for now, and take good care. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.